You are listening to Know You're Crazy. My name is Susan Denee. We all have crazy. What separates us is how we choose to deal with it. I'm going to be delivering engaging and actionable tools to own your crazy, treat your crazy, and turn it into your own superpower. I hope that you walk away from this show feeling the power and strength within you. And never forget to enjoy your journey because you are worth it. Hey everyone, welcome to the Know You're Crazy show. My name is Susan Denee, and you are listening to Emotional Recovery in the Raw. So good to be here today for the show. So excited. Feels like I haven't recorded a show in a long time, although I know it's likely only been, maybe a little bit over a month or so. Glad to be here. Today's topic is a little passionate for me. I always like to pull topics either that I personally have been overcoming or clients or relationships in my life that have been overcoming different hurdles in life, which is why I always like to say our crazy gets sparked when the unforeseen circumstances just knock us down, right? And how does that crazy manifest? What does it look like for us? It's what's unique to this show is to really understand the ins and outs of how you operate when under stress. There's this beautiful quote. I actually keep it in my office here. I'm going to read it. This beautiful quote by John Kabat-Zinn. We need to dare to be sane, to take on our craziness unabashedly and hold it with compassion, to face it, name it, and in doing so, be bigger than it, no longer caught by it, and therefore intimately in touch with our wholeness. Not only sane, but saner than sane. I just love that quote. We need to dare to be sane, to take on our craziness. And that's what today's show is going to be about. What does it look like when you are taking on your crazy? How tempting it can be to go down the rabbit hole of insanity. And what that insanity may look for you may be different than what it looks like for me. However, I believe that we all have it, and it can rob us of the joy of life. It can rob us of feelings of fulfillment in life and really make us doubt ourselves and the things that we have in front of us. I talked to someone just the other day when she was just expressing how unfulfilled she felt every time she was doing something. She admitted she had almost like a underlying confidence in life, yet would really doubt everything she was doing because when she was doing it, there was no joy. So she would have this to-do list, she would accomplish something, but it didn't give her no sense of fulfillment. And we were talking about the initiative behind the doing, why we do what we do. Why do some things fulfill us and others don't? What does overwhelm look like for some of us? Does it get so big that as we're checking off the list, there is no joy in it? And then one of the things that I like to catch myself not doing enough of is playfulness. Taking this thing called life too seriously and really forgetting that right here, right now, everything is okay. Right here, right now, everything is okay. The circumstances may not be exactly what I desire in my life for whatever reason, but in this moment, right here, right now, everything's okay. I got a roof over my head. I've got food in my belly. I've got breath in my lungs. I have relationships in my life, and it really is okay. And no matter how far down life has got a lot of us, many of us, the majority of us can still say that. So today's show, what does it look like when you are packing the luggage of problems in life? Packing the luggage of problems. So I'm going to back way up here, give a little bit of personal experience, strength, and hope, and then dive right into the show. So what does it look like for you when a difficult circumstance comes into your life? When's the last time you can recall being significantly challenged with an obstacle in your life? I mean, It's those times when you feel like I just cannot hang on any longer. Why am I doing what I'm doing? For some folks, it's literally a feeling of depression that they feel almost stuck in, that they cannot get out of. It's no longer about thinking negative thoughts. It's literally the body has taken over with a feeling of despondency, a feeling of weakness. There is no motivation to do anything. How do you deal with those circumstances? And yes, there are exceptions to this when it's mental health and different things that need to be addressed with medications. Please see a doctor if you're feeling extremely sad and can't pull out of it. So many resources out there for us today. But I'm talking about what is it that we can control when we hit these spots in our life? I recently took on an adventure of gaining kind of an old skill set, but yet kind of new skill set in a way professionally. And what I have brought to the table, I am not performing in the way that I thought I would be performing by this time. And so there's been all these different things that have come up for me personally, challenging my confidence, challenging my skill set, making me look at beliefs in regards to being older woman, dare I say, going into a workforce almost like a guinea pig again, and all the different things that brings up, belief wise, and like it's been crazy for me, like literally been crazy for me. And the reason why the topic today is about not packing the luggage of problems in our life is because the temptation can be, and this is the gist of the show, in your life, when you are feeling down or you are feeling less than, or you are feeling like I can just not do this again today, sometimes what can happen is we will pack the luggage of problems. For example, I might have a challenge professionally, and this challenge may be consuming me. It's taking up my thoughts. It's making me question why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm forgetting why I ever jumped in, the goal setting, all the excitement that went into it originally. I can no longer feel it. I can no longer see it. And it's just this big obstacle every day. And so what can happen is we can make a problem, or I can make a problem, a individual problem, be almost like a magnet to other things in my life. Have you ever had a magnet problem? The problem is this, but now, I didn't pay that one bill when I was supposed to. And oh, those 20 pounds I gained in menopause haven't been coming off. And I can't stop myself from eating. And oh, my kid looked at me today and I'm pretty sure they're really upset and I'm really worried for them. And oh, my one friend didn't call me like they always call me. I wonder if they're mad at me. And suddenly we take these other things in our life that we've kind of noticed, but really don't hit our radar, but we've noticed them. They haven't consumed us. We're not obsessing about them. But because this one thing is doubting us, this one thing is creating chaos in our life, we have now chosen to pack the bag of problems and we're bringing on board everything else. Because isn't it easy to build momentum? Like when you're down, and it can feel really tempting to attach everything else in your life and make it feel down too. Years ago, I was working with a woman who was really struggling in the relationship category. And what she was expressing in her relationship category, because it had gotten so big, and I think there was a divorce, there were some just really challenging things going on in the relationship. What I noticed was other areas of her life started feeling the effects of that area. And so now it was like bleeding into these other areas of life. And that's the show today is in your life, are you packing the problems when you don't need to be packing the problems? And how do we stick to our area of focus and just leave it there? Like just leave it there. One of the relationship issues that when I've worked with individuals and even myself in my past have come across is if there's a relationship issue, like an intimate relationship issue, and it's ongoing and it feels like it's never ending, something that's really handy to say sometimes is just, am I leaving this relationship today? And if the immediate answer to that is no, you're not packing your bags, you're not looking for a place, you haven't put the deposit down anywhere, you haven't even looked for a place to live, you're just really frustrated with the circumstances again. It's causing you to think in a fight or flight mode. You're wondering, did you make the right choice? But at the end of all of that thinking and feeling, if the answer to that question is no, I ain't going nowhere, then give yourself permission to get out of fight or flight. Keep the problem contained to the moment. Like, you know what? I'm not going anywhere. So worrying about all these future things really isn't going to serve me at all. Okay. Professional dilemma. Am I going to quit this job today? Or am I going to really close the business today? Like, is that what's going on? Like, has this really gotten to that point? Or am I just caught in the emotions of the moment? And I'm just feeling that down again. But am I really going to be decisive today and leave the job, close the business, jump ship, do whatever? And if the answer comes back at no, I'm not doing that today, then give yourself permission to contain the problem in the moment and go ahead and just set it down. And that future worry, because when we are in a worried state, no matter if it's financially, professionally, in a relationship, or health wise, when we are in a worried state, you might agree with me that there is no such thing as intelligent decision making. If fear is fueling the decisions, that is the one time you do not want to make the decision. It does not mean that there can be a circumstance that forces you to make a drastic decision. It doesn't mean that that can't happen. But the majority of our problems, when we get really stuck and we go into future worry or past regret, are not those situations. It's the situations that cause us to feel like we're just not getting our immediate satisfaction. Don't we all just love immediate satisfaction? Like, nobody likes to have to wait for the goal to achieve or wait for the outcome to come. In sobriety, when I'm working with individuals, I'll say, you're not the old you. You're not the new you. You're like that you're that in between phase. And that in between phase is really challenging sometimes. And in the in between phase of your growth spurt, it's really tempting to pack on the problems of other areas. And there's this area of just, if I can just sit still and just understand and be okay with being uncomfortable and understand I'm not going to make the decision to jump ship. I'm not going to make the decision to break up today. If I can learn to withstand the storm, then I can get through this. And as each moment goes by, or as each scenario starts to go by for you, what you will begin to realize is that you are you're a person of stamina. You can get through all kinds of things in life without making them bigger than they want to be. So what does packing the luggage feel like? Packing the luggage of problems feels like everything's going wrong in my life. I can't feel any joy whatsoever. And also asking yourself, is there one thing in my life that feels really big right now, that's really dominant? And what am I doing in that area of my life, thought-wise, that's making me bleed over to this? And so ask yourself a couple challenging questions. Is that really true? Is that really true? So, for example, if you're struggling, I'm just going to use the example of professional life. If you're struggling professionally, maybe you're having a hard time finding that excellent job that you want. You've been in a switch and you can't find the one you want, or there's something real challenging at work and you're just not feeling as fulfilled as you normally would feel. Just ask yourself, is this really true that my life is really horrible right now? Or is it true that this is really that bad? Is the scenario really that bad? Is it really that bad? Or have I gotten myself into a cycle of feeling and thinking that makes it seem that bad? This is a really interesting topic, because when you're in it, a lot of what I'm saying right now may not even resonate. And you'll be like, no, this is so far gone. I just can't do it. I just can't do it. I had a thought a few weeks ago based on some changes in my life, where literally the thought was, Susan, you got to fight for your sanity right now. Like, this isn't playtime anymore. This isn't time to rest on your laurels and hope it gets better. You need to get in a place of decision making in a positive way that's fueled with confidence, fueled with inspiration, not fueled with, did I make the right decision? And I'm doubting myself and all these other things that can come into play. This is a time to fight for my sanity. Sometimes it's a time to fight for your confidence. Don't forget who you are. Understand that you have accomplished all kinds of things in life. One of the things that I take couples through and individuals, if they go through the emotional elevation side of my coaching, one of the things that we will work on is the accomplishment list. Many times when we are stuck in that cycle of negative feeling about ourselves, or we're not doing enough, we suffer from overwhelm, the shoulda, woulda, couldas. When that's going on, what's happened is we have forgotten to look at our list of accomplishments for the day. We have forgot to count the wins. So if I ask you right now, what are your wins for today? Just think about that. What are your wins for today? What did you accomplish today? And let's break it down. Did you wake up? Did you make yourself a cup of coffee? Did you brush your teeth? Did you go to work? There's a lot of things that we do throughout our day that we do not give ourselves credit for. And then we end up giving too much credence to all these outside issues or outside circumstances. And we step away from really the important things that are fulfilling for us, like understanding that everything in your life that you give back to every day. Do you have someone that you smiled at today? Do you have a child that you encouraged today? Did you thank your partner for something nice? Did you give thanks for even having a partner in your life? Did you really look around your home and say to yourself, and the roof that surrounds you, that provides shelter to you, and did you actually say to yourself, I kind of earned this thing, I paid for this thing, I had to make these decisions to get in this place, and I kind of got my stuff where I want to put it, like I've made all these decisions, and I'm sitting here in my secure little cocoon, and have I appreciated it today? Am I feeling good about the decisions that I've made thus far? Fighting for our sanity and making sure that we're not packing the luggage of problems, it takes quite a bit of effort, right? It takes quite a bit of energy sometimes to pull ourselves out of that cycle. And so that's what I'm talking about today. So if you've been caught up in packing the luggage and you have been unable to really focus on the positive things in your life, maybe it's time to catch the crazy. Maybe it's time to fight for the sanity today. As I was reading that quote to you, the very first thing, we need to dare to be sane, to take on our crazy unabashedly. So where is crazy showing up in your life for you today? And really catch the subtle crazy, the little SOB who's sneaking in there, who you've kind of, it's gone unnoticed. And it might be disguising itself as self-pity. It might be disguising itself as overwhelm. Oh, here's one. It might be disguising itself with the intellect, telling you justifiably these things are rational. And so therefore, everything's justifiable. And yet every time you think like that, for some reason, you're still coming back and you're still feeling crummy about life. Is your crazy showing up in an intellectual way that's really stalling you from satisfaction? Is that's what's going on? Because when crazy shows up in the in-between lines, it will tell us that we are less than who we are, but it will mask itself in all kinds of different ways. Convincing us that we're not as smart as we are, or that we are so smart that this couldn't really be the way. This really couldn't be the answer. Accomplishments. So what have you accomplished today? What have you accomplished this last week? Here we are at the beginning of 2025. Many people are looking at the list and the goals. It is a great time of the year to reset. And I know you can go all kinds of ways and say, well, you should be resetting all the time or whatever. But, beginning of January, it's just kind of like a tradition in our culture. It's just kind of when we start looking at the goal setting and what's coming up for the year. I like to use it as a way. I used to do a show once a year where we would reflect on the prior year. Cell phones are great for this now because of how many of us take so many damn pictures. Like we don't even know how many pictures we've taken. But sometimes at the end of my year, and I'll do this actually probably here soon, I'll look through all of my pictures in my phone and I'll be like, oh my God, I did a lot last year. Like I forgot I did all that. And you'll see the travels that you took. You'll see like birthday parties you attended, anniversary celebrations you attended. You'll see, pictures of maybe if you've done some housework, pictures you take before and after, and you really start understanding the sense of accomplishment for the year and the people you showed up for. We forget how many people we show up for. whether that's birthday parties, anniversaries, celebrations, showing up for somebody in the hospital. We are reminded by looking, look through your cell phone if you're wanting to be reminded, what did I do in 2024? Especially if you're in the suffering stage of not enough. And this is where I'm going to talk next. I recently picked up the book by Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. I was talking to my business mentor, my beautiful mentor in my life, and she was talking about how she usually reads this once a year. And it's been about 3 or 4 years since I've read it, but I picked it up because I have been dealing with the crazy. I have been really struggling, really trying to decipher, is it me? Is it them? Is this going to work out? Was this decision I should have made? And really kind of digging in it. It's been like this transformative period in my life for many, many reasons. But there's been a big one recently that's kind of I've almost allowed to take me down. And I picked up the book and I began reading. And, let alone the man was in a concentration camp. And the first section of the book is really talking about the day-to-day life of living in the concentration camp. And I mean, it just makes sure it's just heartbreaking. But then his logotherapy and how he changes the whole view of it, and really having this optimistic look at looking forward to something good, no matter what the circumstances are around you. And something about that book has slowly, along with other things that I do to catch my crazy and to work on keeping my mind in a healthy state of mind versus a negative state of mind and in a bad attitude. But that book just really kind of started pulling me up with different topics in it and different views of how he would look at it. And so, but the thing he talks about obviously is man's search for meaning, right? But the irony and what I really liked recently about the book, and this is what really gave me, I was talking to someone today, I was like, I know what I'm going to talk about on the show because it was just so, so meaningful, was what is your meaning in suffering? Have you found yourself in a suffering state of mind? And the word suffering might make you think of really horrible things, but isn't the emotional negative thought patterns that some of us will go through torture in and of itself? And when we are creating our own suffering, what does that look like? But what is the meaning behind the suffering? Everything that I have brought into my life experience from the beginning has been brought into my life by my choice. Everything has been my choice. Maybe it didn't end up the way I wanted it to end up, but I have chosen those individuals in my life. I have chosen those circumstances in my life. Even the thing that I've been crazy about lately, I chose that. I chose it, which I don't really want to remind myself of, but I chose it. And so when you think about, these lessons in life, if that's what you want to say, or these even the joys, right? That we choose the joys too. But everything is bringing to us an experience in our life. Everything is bringing to us an opportunity to grow. Like, what emotional muscle is getting worked on when you're suffering? What emotional muscle is getting worked on when you're suffering? When you're worried about that child, or you're worried about that parent who is sick, or you're just baffled at the finances that you just can't seem to make enough money, what is the meaning behind your suffering? I got to look at my own suffering with the thought processes that I've had, and I've got to start to ask myself those questions, like, what is the meaning behind this suffering? What am I having to learn to let go of and not tie so, what am I tying to so tightly? Like, what is it I'm scared of right now? And what is this meaning in the suffering? What am I going to walk away from understanding about myself yet again? And is this something that I've visited before in my life? And has it come up again? Is the crazy in my life that I'm experiencing right now, is that thing been like a merry-go-round? Is it the same topic, but it's popped up in another way? Does this topic deal with issues of self-worth? Sometimes it talks, believe it or not, in my world, even though I'm on here talking and doing my thing, sometimes I will withhold communication for fear of, and I don't even realize I'm doing it. And it's somewhere around advocating for myself, right? Do you have trouble advocating for yourself under certain circumstances, whether that's in your intimate relationship, maybe it's in your professional relationship, maybe it's regarding your health, just advocating for what you need for your health and actually just doing it. Like, So, what is the meaning in your suffering when it shows up for you? And you may not be suffering right now, and good on you if you're not. I hope you're not, actually, because I understand that when we are in the in-between phase and we're not quite where we want to be, it can be a really troublesome phase. And so trying not to pack that luggage and make it more than what it can be is really, it's like a fine line to not do that. So what are some of the things that you can do to avoid packing the luggage, to find some meaning in your suffering, to almost give it a different perspective? For some reason, when I read that in the book, it really lightened whatever I've been carrying in between my ears and my emotions over the last several months. It kind of lightened it, like, yeah, what's really going on with this decision? What's really going on with the impact of this thing I'm walking through right now? And so what can we do about that? Number one, remember your confidence. That's the first thing I'm going to say. Remember your confidence. Who are you? And start with this question right here. What are you good at? Remember what you're good at. Remember what people compliment you on. Remember a time in your life. This would be something I would do in the high performance coaching side of things. But I would ask you, remember a time in your life when you felt the most confident and sure of where you were at and what you were doing. Just remember that time. Now, what were you doing? Why did you enjoy it so much? What was going on back then? What was going on back then? What were the circumstances? And what were you saying to yourself back then when you were feeling confident, enjoying what you were doing? What was the fantastic story that you were saying to yourself when you were going through that? Just remember that. Now, with whatever's in front of you today, can you translate that story to today's moment? Can you tap into that other self that you were at that time and bring him or her present into the moment and remember what that is? One of the things that I said to myself when I was getting to this point, and it kind of tapped into some old, I guess, beliefs that would really give me some confidence in the middle of the storm, is because I was just like, you know what, dude? If I'm going out, you know, F it. Try to be somewhat good on the show, guys. Uh, if I'm going out though, F it. I'm just going to do what I got to do. Like, I am done being, whatever I was being, right? Like, fuck it. I'm just, sorry, oops, slipped. You guys have to edit that. I'm just going to do my thing. And that, in that moment when I was like, you know what? I ain't going out with a fight. Like that little girl, that person who'd been through some stuff, that person who got sober, that rock bottom stuff, the woman who walked through the divorce, the woman who walked away from a 20-year job that did not end on fantastic terms, but it ended. That person that survived all of that, she got tapped into, and that confidence came to the table. So what do you got to say to yourself to pull yourself up? To persevere, to get into that mindset, to not go backwards. Remember a time in your life when you were feeling that energy and recreate it. It may take some effort. I'm not going to lie. It may create some effort. I noticed in my personal daily practice, when I would sit down and I would say, okay, vision myself doing something like, whatever that was for me right now. It would take it's hard. Sometimes it's hard. Like my brain wants to, do retread. It doesn't want to look forward to what I want to look forward to. So what I do is I remember seeing myself doing those things in the past, things that I've accomplished, a sense of feeling of fulfillment. That's how we avoid going back down that tunnel. Number two, reach out and ask for help. Who do you have in your life that you can talk to about this, that can help guide you to new levels? Who do you have in your life that can give some perspective? Could be a friend, could be a parent, could be a mentor, could be a coach, could be a pastor, could be a reverend, could be a sponsor. but who do you have in your life to really help you through this spot? Because it's not just about one phone call. It's not about, just calling that one maybe friend who, the friend who co-signs off, who really doesn't, but it's really about continuous reaching out during the storm so that you don't pack those problems in and make it bigger than what it is, so that you can almost have a laughter at yourself, right? Which brings me to number three. You got to find a sense of humor in life sometimes. There's got to be some funniness around it. I was actually talking to my mentor about what I'm going through, and there was something I was stating an opinion about something, and she chuckled and she goes, "Well, that's your problem right there. Until you see X, Y, and Z as the most wonderful thing ever, it is not going to change." As long as you're perceiving, and I will go a little bit further and elaborate on this, as long as you're identifying or prescribing a particular outcome to something before it even happens, the likelihood that outcome is going to keep rolling in that direction. So you have a responsibility to prescribe a new identity to it, a new outcome to it, or a person to see them as the universe may see them. Dare I say, as a child of the universe, right? Not all bad. What do you like about the person? Not what you don't like about the person, but making that decision to not take this stuff so seriously. You got to have a sense of humor sometimes. Sometimes you got to laugh at yourself. So I mean, when I think about me and where I'm at in my life, oh my goodness, it is kind of funny, like what I'm doing right now and who I'm surrounded by and the conversations I'm having. Oh my God, the conversations I'm having with individuals who just don't want to play, and it's been challenging, and in a weird way, it's been refreshing because I'm having to exercise new tools in my life. And are you in a place in your life where you need to exercise some new tools? Where are we at? Number four, what are your goals? I'm just going to come right out and go to the goal thing, right? So remember who you are. Okay, that was number one, right? Remember who you are. Ask for some help. Ask somebody to help, but continuously ask for help. Don't make it a one-time shot. Continuously ask for some help. Number four, we got number four or three. Don't take this stuff so seriously. Like you cannot take this stuff so seriously. And then once you're able to kind of move through that, now it's like, okay, what are these goals again? What am I doing? What am I doing? Sometimes we get paralyzed at the idea of wanting to set future goals because we get so stuck in the moment not being what we want it to be. And we feel so scared and so worried to actually think about the outcome of something good because sometimes we feel like we're just starving ourselves and barely maintaining our life, right? Give yourself permission to set some fun goals. Even if it's baby step goals, count your wins, count your wins. I've recently been texting someone, and I've been texting her in the morning. I said, "What are your wins today? What's your plan A? What's your plan B?" So plan A is, see, when you do a plan A and a plan B, I'm going to back up just a little bit. When you do a plan A and you do a plan B, the reason why that can be very effective for you is because it helps with your expectations on what's going on in your life. So plan A is, I'm going to get up, I'm going to go to work, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z at work, and then I'm going to get home and I'm going to do X, Y, and Z at home. That's my plan. Oh, and I've got some other I'm going to take a walk. Maybe I'm going to walk 10,000 steps, whatever. That's plan A. Okay. Plan A don't always come off, but sometimes it does. That's plan A, and it's just for today. It's not for the next 10 years. It's just for today. What is plan A? Plan B is, okay, plan A is not going so good during the day. So what is my plan B? My plan B is I'm going to remember to give myself credit for everything that I've done today. Plan B is I'm going to go ahead and give myself a little bit of grace, and I'm going to give myself permission to shut down a little bit earlier in the evening and get some rest if I break down during the day, right? Plan B is I'm going to call somebody if I start to struggle today. That's my plan B. So plan A, this is what I got intended for today. But if something happens or if something gets going on in my emotions that is not working out, my plan B is this, and that's what I'm going to do next. And so plan A, plan B. So the exercise that I'm doing with this individual that I'm reaching out to daily is I'm texting her, I'm saying, what is your plan A? What is your plan B? And what were your wins yesterday? Tell me about your wins. And what was so cool about this particular individual was she was really struggling with loneliness, really struggling. New environment, living in a new place, job cut her hours so she doesn't have the social connections at work. School, she only has one class, so she's not, partaking a lot in school. So the social aspect, and so she's been really struggling with loneliness. And so what happened was she had all these positive engagements with new roommates, and they went and did some things, and it was just a really cool experience. But the day before that, she was breaking down emotionally, stating some pretty sad things, right, about how she felt about life and how tired she was and how broke down she was. But in just a little bit of a game plan, a plan A, a plan B, keep it simple, keep it in the moment, and then count the wins, really helped her not pack that luggage, because she was starting to pack the luggage and she was starting to draw it all in. Okay. All right. So I think I'm about at the end of my show. So just for a recap, for those of you who have blessed me with your presence today, listening to the show, the topic is, how do we not pack the problem that we've got with more problems? And how do we stay in a right mind? And how do we unabashedly, I love his quote, unabashedly take on our crazy today? So what do you need to remind yourself? If you're in a spot and you're really struggling right now, remind yourself of a time in your life when you really felt good. What were you doing? What type of cool decisions were you making? What was the feeling that you had? Who were you then? The man, the woman, who were you? Bring that person present. Bring them back in. Remind yourself of the things that you've accomplished in your life, not only in the past, but even today. Take the baby set of accomplishment and give yourself credit. Give yourself credit for what's getting done in your life. Don't take away from it. Give yourself some credit. Reach out and talk to somebody, and do it often. You don't have to do it just once and call it good. Get used to communicating with somebody and giving yourself permission to express what's going on with you, so that you're not a secret. In recovery, we say we're as sick as our secrets. And sometimes we think we're just the world and we carry all these problems, right? Pay attention to how your crazy is showing up, the little subtle SOB. And what I said in that earlier in the show was just paying attention to how the crazy shows up for you. Sometimes we'll be too intellectual, we will know too much, and we have justified every single action, yet we continue to feel unfulfilled. Sometimes it's real honest crazy. We start taking other people's inventory. We realize that, it's everybody else's fault. It's not our fault. That might be how crazy shows up. If you're feeling like you're in a depressed state, and this is like not to the medication, or if you are on medication, talk to a doctor. But if that is continuing and is continuing and continuing and continuing, ask the people around you, do you think I'm depressed? Take an inventory. How are you being seen right now? And then ask yourself, is this a time in my life where I have to fight for my sanity? Because there's going to be times in life where we have to fight for our sanity. We are not here to be boring, glum, and miserable. We are here to enjoy life. But we have a responsibility to earn that, because we have to work for it sometimes. And we have to be able to tap into that joyfulness and that fulfillment in life and really ride this wave and understand that even in our suffering, there is meaning. Even in the tough times, there is meaning for us to grow from and springboard off of. All right. So that is going to be a wrap for today. If anybody listening to the show today would like somebody to touch in, or you have been thinking about getting a coach and you would like to talk about that, feel free to email me at growthspurt@susandenee.com. Denee is spelled Denee. Feel free to send me an email. I'd be more than happy to set up a free strategy session with you to talk about what you've got going on, see if there's something that I can assist you with just maybe some weekly coaching sessions around what you've got going on. So if you're looking for that support network, I would be more than happy to discuss that with you. Welcome to January 2025. I hope you have great things in store for yourself this year, and have a great, great rest of the evening. Thank you for joining me. Take care. You have been listening to Know You're Crazy.
Crazy.
And my name is Susan Denee. We are identifying, understanding, and treating your crazy one episode at a time. Tune in to transformationtalkradio.com. To connect with me or Growth Spurt Your Life, please visit susandenee.com. That's Susan Denee, DENEE.com.